Hi, everyone. We are here today. This is the Intern Whisperer. You know, our show's all about the future of work. We are so excited that you are here, and we want to welcome you to meet our newest guest. It is Dr.LaRessa Ferdinand, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Isabella. I'm excited about it.
So over here, we always want to make sure everybody that a little bio, I'm going to read a little bio about you so that they know who you are. Dr. Ferdinand is the founder and CEO of the Estrogen Doctor Consulting Services and Thrive Beyond Wellness, two types of businesses. She is a public speaker and she contributes as an author to the Codes of Longevity. Dr. LaRessa, I hope I'm not slaughtering your name.
No, you're doing good. You actually put the long.
Right.
A lot of people want to say Issa or Larissa, so you're good.
Thank you. Helps women improve hormone balance so they can lead more productive, performance-driven, and powerful lives through premenopause and beyond. Her passion is to impact women on a deeper level through a whole body connection and hormone optimization. So this is a new type of a guest that I'm having on the show. She's a real doctor. I want everyone to know that. Sometimes they'll think, oh, is it a chiropractor? They are doctors also, but in a different capacity, and medical doctor. And I met you at one of our game jams, which was the Mega Health. I was thrilled to meet you, and I'm so happy that I get to share you with my audience.
Yeah. It was, I think, no particular meetings are by accident. They are meant to be because since then we've been in some kind of communication about all the things that you have going on with your company and within the Orlando Tech Hub and so much more. I've enjoyed that connection from then.
Me too. Let's talk about your personal journey and the inspiration as to why you became a medical doctor.
Yes. So I will say, even when I was a younger girl, I didn't know what the heck I wanted to do. I knew I gravitated to certain subject matter, math and science. And then I also love reading too. But still, I was one of those, oh, maybe I want to do this or that. Computers were starting to get a lot of buzz, or maybe a computer programmer. But it wasn't until toward end of high school, went into college, knew that pretty much after shadowing a few doctors, like this is the road that I wanted to take. I think the most pivotal thing that I wanted to share with the audience is not only am I a board certified OBGYN, and I have now really changed that identity of what that looks like. And I think that is largely a part of even the audience that are listening, is that at some point I thought my identity and what I did was wrapped up into that. But I recognized that one, I wanted to serve patients more within a healthcare system that was broken, and that the path to do so had to be in a way that was innovative, out of the box thinking, and improving healthcare outcomes. So the whole full circle of that has been a journey. Many of us are on a journey, and my niche are women, or working with women over 40 and helping them age well, but also where is that intersection of where those things, advances in medicine, technology, or even understanding more the practicality of bringing more equitable opportunities in medicine looks like. Then I have a better view with talking to those even outside of the medical care system, those who are behind the scenes doing things. I feel like it's been a journey, even from when I decided to be a doctor, but I think the biggest component of that story has been how I've evolved as a physician. At the end of the day, even when I teach students now, is at some point you're going to decide what kind of physician you want to be, and do not let the system change. You can work aligned with the system, but you being there uniquely in your own purpose and your own magical thing that you add to this healthcare industry and this landscape, because it's ever changing, that is going to really help you not only care for more people, have better reach, but most importantly, have an awesome career where you don't feel like dead in the waters of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
I love the fact that you're really telling women that anybody that's listening, honestly, but we'll talk about women in healthcare profession, to remember what their values are and their purpose. That's really important. And that's what you're saying, not to change, but we always have to change because advancements make us. But there's this place of finding the balance of what it is that may make you feel like am I to compromise? I don't want to compromise.
Mhm.
That's very important. Throughout your career, what has been some of the most significant changes that you've faced in the medical field? And then how have you had to overcome them?
There's so many that I feel like I can name in this moment, but I'm also trying to make sure I select things that would help those who are listening and I want them to share it with others as well. I think just ideally knowing the difference in generations. One of the things in particularly was telehealth or telemedicine. It was something that I had started initiating within my former practice about 3 years prior to COVID. In that moment, it was me thinking of, gosh, I have ladies who are just coming back for results or we're just having discussion about their things like contraception. And guess what? It's a pile of patients usually that were on a schedule. If I needed to leave out or do something, I just felt like it needs to be an opportunity where people don't feel rushed. So what is it? You be able to think of things outside of the box that help your current problem. And the thing is, it wasn't outside of the box, really. It was just trying to make sure that you can implement something that was already existing. And that's the thing, even in your technology space, there's certain conversations that still need to be had to make it easier, right? Using telemedicine in more rural places that didn't have specialists, but it wasn't mainstream, mainly because insurance wasn't paying for it, or it was something new, or it was this caveat of I need to be in front of my physician. It didn't take like killing 1 million people in a pandemic to figure that out, right? That's what happened. It's like now telemedicine is, there are telemedicine companies. There's actual virtual care where people are exiting from with millions of dollars because they recognize that need then and how they were already doing something on an innovation and technology level and adding that to the healthcare space, adding the privacy, adding Zoom went crazy, right?
Overnight.
To me, that has been a significant change in how the delivery of medicine is, how the delivery of care can be, how we can open up just an idea of even that small tool that was pre-existing and having to navigate like this whole global pandemic in order for patients to still receive care. But yet it's become something that now we have to add legislature around, or there's certain states that have certain things of what you can do with telemedicine. Like it's become this governed thing, but honestly, it's changed the game of a lot of things. So that's one of the areas that I think overall, when we look at how technology, innovation, all of those things in the background can help the landscape other than what I was used to, which was medical devices or a new contraceptive device, like all of those things, but can really change the landscape. That's one of the things that I would like to share.
So how do you think that as we move even more forward, we do so much online. We're doing this as remote, right? To a certain extent. How do we handle that as we move into the future? You mentioned some governance and legislature. Do you feel like the medical industry will need to add more of that there? Because if the patient is not being seen in person, maybe they could say, oh, or missed this because I actually wasn't there. I think that it could work really well in mental health. I don't know how it works for an eye exam. So I mean that as examples as I don't know, does that work? How could it work? And I guess I have an eye exam next week. I'm going to ask that of my eye doctor, honestly.
I actually know for a fact that does exist, but I don't know how it's segmented, what part, making sure you can do it, excuse me, virtually versus in person. I think my direct response, no matter what, to that is when we talk about navigating the waters of how that is expanding in different fields, I think there is a level of what needs to be regulated, but not something where it's barred, because it's all about still giving equitable opportunities, diversifying, even in spaces that need to be in person or have in person opportunities for care. because no matter what, there's still communication barriers that exist in healthcare between colleagues, between teams, and between patients. We're trained on that all the time because that prevents medical errors. So we don't want to create a distance where there's already fear. There is so much anxiety that I've learned over time that patients experience with just even going to the doctor. Okay with just a once a year exam or what have you. So to get somebody in there for that one shot, sometimes if the disconnect is just virtually versus in person, or it may be, hey, I was able to do something more virtually because it put the anxiety off that person and I was able to communicate better. It can go in both directions and very much be bimodal. I think most of all is that when we start putting too many constraints on what it looks like, it could end up being problematic in certain areas depending on the field. And I think making sure that we're constantly readdressing protocols, readdressing how the delivery of medicine, and also being open of really being in touch with our community and the people we serve, that makes a difference. But, and I'm gonna bring up the Mega Jam. That was one of the things that I enjoyed being part of, because I could see now that I've been in a lot of or a few technology spaces, I could really think of it from a practical point of view, because instantly, just one of the teams, it was talking about the SBAR, which is a format of a framework of a communication that all medical teams are built upon. So if you're now adding an augmented simulated reality to it, you want to merge it with something that exists and show how it can advance communications within a team. Because sometimes recreating a complete wheel, it may not be well adopted, as opposed to navigating it to a different level. So having that practicality, or having someone like, okay, I see this every day, I'm in the fields every day, this is what you need to be thinking about, because you want early adoption, you want to be able to solve a problem, you want to retain the engagement with whatever you're creating, and know that whatever machine learning that you're going to put behind it makes sense because it's equitable to that community. It understands that community, which there's been a lot of blockades of, even as an African-American physician, that in understanding the diversification of the areas that we serve, many doctors serve, despite race, there are inherent biases. And you don't want to continue to create areas of people who haven't experienced those things, and not creating those things that can be able to learn those environments to better serve your community.
That's really interesting. I would think one more thing that I'm just adding on to that, because you're in gynecology also, when having an online meeting, it's usually to give maybe updates as to health questions, things that don't require being in person. That can be pretty efficient. Things that require being in person, that's different, because when you have to have a pelvic exam or a breast exam, you don't want to rely on your patient necessarily finding the lump. You want to make sure that the patient goes, okay, I feel like this is, and the best news you can ever have is, no, that's not. Right. Yeah. So I don't know if this would be more costly. Is it more costly because you do the technology and you do have online communications with your patients, or do you think it would be more costly to meet them in person? Because how that pricing structure, I mean, there's obviously one that can charge more for than the other. So do you think that's part of what you guys are figuring out still, or has it already been done?
I think it's something that's ever evolving. So let me back up a little bit. Even when I do a consultation, it's pretty comprehensive. With my first initial consultation, that's about an hour, I'm able to cover more in my virtual component. And I have a practice that has a hybrid, because I still value the in-person, like you said. Something about my 20 years of experience of knowing, like, I've come behind early nurse practitioners, and nurse practitioners are changing the game of what they're able to do as a mid-level out there. And so we're very grateful about that. However, my 20 years experience sometimes, or just how I was trained as a medical doctor, I'm going to see and understand things on a different level regardless as a physician. So I think that is ever evolving, because when you talk about a cost structure, there's many areas of where, and just for an example, if you are I'm thinking of a business right now, you're launching a business, and it's mainly for offering virtual care, and you want to have physicians that are covering different states because you want to pull in different people, it's going to make sense that you don't have multiple locations at this point for them to be in person, especially if you're starting. So it's creating like a model that could potentially be repeated on another level, but yet most of these patients still have a conduit to their regular doctor. So at some point, there's a knowledge that if they needed to have something in person done, then they could be able to have that avenue. But it makes sense in that world, but it's also in a line with doing that if someone needed to have an in-person contact to evaluate with a more experienced physician or someone else, that they could be there. And I think that's where the gap exists, to make sure that there's a communication, because I find often that patients may buy stuff on Amazon, be taking all the supplements in the world and follow all this stuff on social media and go in for their wellness visit. Oh, I'm good. I'm fine. I just came in for my PAP. And had an opportunity to at least decipher, like whether you're wasting your money or not, to really discern, okay, this is what, from a medical point of view, this is what your issue or your problem can be, or this is how you can optimize your care better. But for some reason, it hasn't merged. That's a big gap, I feel, because I see it all the time. Just a checkpoint. Okay, what are you on? You on this? And they haven't mentioned all like the 15 supplements that they've downloaded from all their IG shops.
Yeah,
so it's ever evolving. That was like a 2-step answer. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of times patients, because I don't see supplements as medicine. And so you as the physician don't know what supplements they're taking. It can be, I did not know that you were taking that. That might be why you're feeling better. Let's discuss this. Or all of a sudden you got healed and, oh, is it because you're taking this supplement? Really interesting stuff here. I'm going to make myself a little note here. What is the most common question you are asked about by women going through menopause? Now this is something, it always seems like it's one of those taboo topics and people don't want to talk about it, but it's so funny because there's this place when you're a girl, you're starting to go through the changes that we experience as women, and you have your first period and you go, wait, nobody told me what was going to happen. And then there's this place as you get older, nobody talks about sex. And then there's this other place where, oh my gosh, we do talk a lot about having babies now. And I've seen that totally change, from even down to the way that we dress. And it's more acceptable. Oh, you can wear a bikini when you're pregnant, no other time. And then we go through the stages of menopause too. And as nobody has been talking about this. And I'm so excited for the fact that this is something that you bring out there and you address all of these types of issues, regardless of age. And that includes even sex as part of the conversation, because that's really valuable. And people think, oh, a lot of people, I think maybe even men too, oh, now you've gone through menopause. No, you're like, it's time for a new woman.
The most common question that I get is this normal? My whole body's breaking up with me and I don't even know what's going on. You brought up a couple of highlights. It's taboo talk, not having that conversation with our families. But I also think that goes to the generations are changing. Meals and everybody, they want to know, and we're going to talk about it, and they want to be more proactive, which I love. And so there are definitely some influencers in this space that are really navigating not only the conversation in a way where the voices of Gen Xers can feel like, hey, I'm being seen, and then also in the voice of advocacy, because later generations tend to be bigger advocates in a way of systems of change. Is this normal? Like, this can't be right. I want to understand what's going on in my body, because oftentimes when it comes to women's health outside of, like you said, pregnancy, and even then, we're filling in the gaps or trying to talk to our girlfriends or find out like a rabbit hole of a Google right now. And even now, I've come to tell people that, yes, I'm a menopause and integrative healthcare specialist, but I love to merge or bridge modern medicine with holistic wellness, because our whole well-being becomes part of this component of, is it normal? Where I think about, okay, let's not be normal, let's be optimal care. And so if you feel like your body's breaking up with you, or you went to your physician and they said, you're going to the change and you just got to deal with it, or everything's normal, and then you're still walking out and you still feel like crap, we're saying now, like, no, that's not good enough for me. I need to go find somewhere else. And I am a physician where I'm okay if you looked on Google. I'm okay if you've done like you have more time scrolling in the middle of the night when you're suffering from your sleep deprivation and perimenopause, menopause, to scroll through and be led on everybody's algorithm right now. And now it's popping up. It is my job to balance the playing field so you can make an informed decision now. So it actually helps out and puts a little less onus on me because I know where you're coming from. I know what you're starting to look at. You're asking the questions from menopause or the menopausal changes, because the area heading into it can last several years, like 7 to 10 years before you actually have an absence of your cycle and say, yes, I'm menopausal. And that's where a lot of escalations of symptoms from every system is impacted, from your brain, your skin, your heart, your body, your midsection. Everybody understands that, the joints and the vajayjay or vagina, or however you want, because there are hundreds of different names that people call it right now, and your whole sexual wellness, because that's what it's about. It becomes your whole wellness. Because what I find is I ask people, okay, so what is your biggest challenge that keep us from your treatment plan? And they were like, yeah, I just want to lose some weight. And I said, okay, what's the next thing? What do you mean? Is it a confidence thing? Is it because honestly, I've met a lot of women where it's a difference between, I just want to be on the top of my game still. I work with a lot of men and I feel like I'm losing myself and I need to stay sharp. Or, you know what, there's just a suit in my closet that I used to rock it, and that was my good luck suit before my pitches or my presentations. And I'm mad I can't get in that bad boy right now. You know, so is what it looks like is really the characters or the persona that we still want to be a part. What I try to change the language of, you're evolving. So not necessarily wanting to go back to your 20 to 30-year-old self. Let's still embody the person or the wisdom that you gained over those years and see what the 3.0 and the 4.0 looks like, and the 5.0, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so that was me sectioning, like, from common question to like how those other areas come out, from taboo topics to how do I address this?
That's really good stuff. Now, you mentioned something that I go, no, I really want to dig into this a little bit better. I go to my gynecologist and I go, I don't know what's happened here, but I have all of this weight and I'm like literally almost eating nothing and it's not coming off. What is it? He said, nothing you can do. And I go, I don't believe that. I know that people take hormone replacement and supposedly that helps. I see a lot of videos on YouTube and sometimes Facebook and some of the other areas. And I'll sit here and go, there's all of these women and men that are saying that they can help women over 45 be able to get their body back and feel like they're in control, and it's significant, and those are meaningful for us because it's not vanity that women want to look at. This is how we're made. We want to feel pretty, we want to look pretty. If that's the case, and we have a man telling us, oh, sorry, that's too bad, this is the way it is, but yet I hear on the other side, these products will help you lose weight. You only have to sit in a chair and do these exercises, or you only have to do these things. And I guess eating more plant-based diet. So I'm throwing again a lot at you here. I go, what is the truth? That's where I come down to. I go, I don't know what is the truth, because I know, do I need to go and see a specialist, a nutritionist? Do I need to go and see, I've had some issues before with like my liver where it was causing some problems. I did a liver cleanse and now everything's better there. I don't know exactly where to start. So I don't know if that's something that you also deal with as a specialist, where, oh, it is nutrition and this is some of the things that you can do, but you really need to understand more about yourself.
In the vein of what my dad always say, facts are our friends, right? So we said, what is the truth behind it? First of all, let me just go ahead and put it out there. I apologize for all the stuff that's out there, because let me tell you, the minute you do one click, it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot out there, and it's really hard to discern and to really understand, okay, what do I do? I don't know. You can just continue to refine and et cetera. So that can be very challenging. My goal is not only values-based care, but personalized care. And that is the wave of the future. That is even where they're tapping into as far as health innovation, to constantly use machine learning to specify this innovation to really understand not only the customer, but solving that particular issue or problem. And weight gain is one of those things that happen commonly within the menopausal community. So that's one fact. The second fact is to understand, since you were born, we have weighed you. So my point of that is there is a brain circuitry that sometimes has nothing to do with vanity, but by the psychological means of the world that we live in, we're constantly reminded about our weight and what the standard of beauty should be. So those things, as I feel, are always going to be on us. So when you look at it with the perspective of health and knowing that, and like the lens that I like to look at it in, if somebody wants to do it, okay, that vanity, hey, do you all day. I'm going to focus from the point of view, I want your system and your metabolic systems that work together in your body to prevent cardiovascular disease, to prevent the things that are going to count at the end of the day, which is I squat because I have a 2-year-old. Like I instantly drop down, like to go grab something. Like I can bend my knees, drop down and pop up like it's nothing to it. Do you know that is my goal? That I can do that as long as possible. That's what I find that many of us, I still want to be able to do X, Y, Z and not feel like I need somebody to help me. I still want to be able to shop in a certain area of the store and know that I'm not going to a different area of the store. Like sometimes it's the simple things of, I want to live independently and be my most healthiest self, but I know losing weight is part of how to get there. And understanding the hormonal fluctuations that can happen going into menopause or having, I like to call the transition into menopause and beyond. I like to call it a 3-step method. One, I'm identifying or trying to see what are some of the challenges and some of the issues that are going on. So I call that my discovery phase. So I'm getting some labs that won't normally be done at a regular physician. I'm evaluating those things behind inflammation because a lot of stuff is going toward inflammation. Your body's system just in overdrive from stress, from what we call our sympathetics, and just always in fight or flight. And what happens is in that your body feels like it's deprived. So you feel like you're not eating that much and why I'm gaining weight. Your body just, oh my God, I don't know when's the next time we're going to eat. So we got to store some stuff. And that's for you. So there's a whole hormonal thing going on there. The next thing is really defining that by those areas where I look at nutrition and fitness becomes definitely part of it, because in any of you out there who are familiar with science on a cellular level, you have different mechanisms in your body, including what we call mitochondria, that are going to help your body heal as well as mobilize. So I feel like in my terms of what I do is I help women age well to thrive now so you can have the best life in your season that you want. And you look at it from that perspective, I'm able to understand the foundations of helping them in the nutrition and getting them started with what fitness looks like. But sometimes these are mental, psychological changes that need to go. I'm adding the medical piece with either molecules, medicines, or adjuncts to advance there. And then 3, helping them dominate. Like, okay, this is what you need to do, Isabella. I know what Susie Q over here is doing, but this is what you need to do in order for you to get. And so that's what personalized healthcare looks like. That's what looking at it from a longevity lens where, okay, I want you to live free of chronic disease and be able to rock it like a rock star well into your 60s, 70s, and don't feel that you've lost something other than gaining the wisdom with aging. I've added answer to the question and some areas of how I address it. And that has been part of my evolution as a medical doctor, and really tapping into, okay, what are some other things that are coming out that can help people along the way? Because the traditional sense is not going to work for the generations to come. We have to change it up.
So we're going to take a moment and acknowledge our sponsor, Cat5 Studios. So hang here with us.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat 5 Studios.
All right. So back to the second half of the show. Let's talk about the future of medicine and technology. You touched on it with virtual care, telehealth. We have that. What do you see is going to be happening? The rapid advancements in the medical technology, including AI and genomics. How do you foresee these innovations impacting the future of patient care? And you'll probably have to define what genomics means for our listeners, if you would please.
Genomics, yeah. So this is
Genomics.
you have a DNA blueprint, and your DNA blueprint is what some people may be familiar with. Certain disease processes, people are going to the nature of understanding cancer cells, and I'm using that as an example because that's what people may understand a little bit better. So if you understand the DNA blueprint, or since it was discovered, you can better treat disease or tackle those things because now you're getting smart on how it operates, where you can change a molecule or how DNA, what we call it, is transcribed. DNA is the blueprint. Things come in there to help print what that blueprint is. And understanding the science behind that is navigating, helping people get pregnant, helping to treat chronic disease and cancers, helping develop different devices related to that. It's very interesting how that goes. Epigenetics is an area where how we're basically looking at how the environment impacts how your DNA blueprint is transcribed or send those messages, and how it may turn on or off based on those things in the environment. Someone that might be living in more of a food desert and not getting some of the nutrition and certain areas that really amplify how that DNA blueprint is transcribed is going to be different from someone who may have a level of access or resources. So therefore that can impact their health. So just kind of surface level of understanding in a practical sense. I just did IG Live about specifically in menopause, some of the trends. And one of those was access of care, and virtual options does improve access to care. Another thing are utilizing wearables. As a surgeon, I was always around medical reps. I've been Da Vinci robotic trained, et cetera. And so what I always loved in that area was that when I first learned how to do a robotic surgery, they said, this is technology that NASA's been doing for years, and we've just amplified it. So that's why I was like, stuff is there, and it's in the pipeline. But as we understand more problems and how we solve them, it makes it very interesting. And so part of that is not only behind the machine learning and artificial intelligence, is the next trend is wearables. So many of us see it in our smartwatches or smart tools or applications in order to track symptoms or to educate. That's a big one. But I use an Oura ring. I'm not necessarily promoting, they don't pay me to do it, but many of my followers may know that, okay, I may mention my journey with the Oura ring and how I even work with patients with it. So as they've
I have no idea what an Oura ring.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So a wearable is anything, a technology in the healthcare sensor landscape where you can track metrics of your health.
I know wearable, but I don't know what Oura ring is.
Yeah, I was going there.
Okay,
so
got it.
With that, Oura ring falls into that because it can track different measurements. It was launched as mainly their whole goal is to help people sleep better. And now they have branched out and really gearing toward other health metrics and putting not only information around it, but helping patients monitor from their stress resilience or stress measures to their heart rate and temperature, especially now that they're getting more into women's health components. But a lot of wearables are doing that so it's a ring that you wear on your finger all day or how long you choose, and it creates a baseline for you and gives you a score. But that's one of the gaps that I see many times with any wearable out there is the interpretation and application. Like I can randomly have a conversation with a patient I have who just bought one because we're coming off the holidays. So a lot of people might have purchased some check and they're just like, oh, I got this for, I must have slept right. And it's a gap of, oh, okay, well, was it something you did differently? How can we continue to repeat? Did you actually feel rested or are you just looking at the score? There's some gaps there to make sure that we're really truly connecting with the communities that are using it and really understand why that may be important for them. They could have started a new medication. They could have somebody in the house. There's certain things that can evolve with that. The whole wearable innovation technology space is growing in that area, especially since about, I want to say there's been a peak, almost 70% of new female-based companies focus on not only just reproductive health, but menopausal care. The other trend I see has to do with mental health and overall well-being. So that doesn't necessarily have to be in the women's space. That is making sure that we're not making a taboo talk about how mental health can affect us or how well-being is part of the canvas of us being better humans and having a connection and not thinking that you don't have help is more going back to that access of help. And so innovation has helped lock that into accessibility, education, and building communities around it, and making it something that people are willing to talk about more forward versus something that is more hidden. We still have a ways to go, but it's definitely opened up the doors and the opportunity, even through social networking.
I think this is really interesting because I've seen more awareness about mental health as a topic of everyday conversation than ever before. And there's more and more people that are sharing that, yes, they feel this on social channels. I feel like that helps it make other people feel, oh, other people feel that way, then that's how I feel. And it's opening up, like you were saying, a really new conversation so that people don't feel so isolated. They're not feeling, maybe that doesn't even weigh more on their ability to feel depressed. They can move forward because they go, okay, other people are experiencing this. I'm not alone. I'm not weird. So maybe I should go and talk about it. Because I know in the veteran community, it's off topic, but it's not, mental health, they want them to talk about it, but they don't want them to talk about it because it's the same, I think, for physicians that are mental health therapists. They experience, all they hear is people's problems. Who do they go and talk to?
Physicians have one of the highest suicidal rates.
Exactly.
Yeah, one of the highest suicidal rates, divorce rates, financial struggles of many of the careers out there. And they're on the front line and expected to buckle it in, buttercup, and still keep moving. And that's been an area of concern with burnout and also with those who are transitioning out of these careers because of it.
Yeah. And people come to doctors because we go, they know more than us. But I think that people also forget, patients may forget, you're not God. You don't know everything. You do know this. So we have to allow for some
Grace.
Human grace and
human grace. Yeah. Yeah. That's what the pandemic did teach us, that there was still value in human connection no matter what. And I want to make sure that no matter what, as a physician, I honor human connection more than anything. I just use, like even now, I use the AI tool to help me with document, and it's helped me in the angle of I have more freedom to talk with patients because I have a tool that helps and assists me where I'm not like this all the time. I can give them eye contact. I can have a conversation and know that I don't feel disconnected. And I think that is a very good opportunity to be on as a healthcare provider, is to still have a human connection with the people you serve.
So we only have time for two more questions, and
Yes.
I'm having to find the one that I think is going to be benefit the most for the listeners here. Let's talk about ethical dilemmas. So what do you foresee for AR, VR, and generative AI in your profession? As yes, it's great in this, but this is what we need to keep our eye on.
Privacy. That is very important. I had attended a conference before, and it was a question put out: what is the most valuable commodity on the market right now? And everybody, crypto, everybody's shouting out different things. And then he said in a single word, your data, your personal data. And that changed the tone of the conversation completely. And it's how I look at it. Just, we've all been part of, okay, I was just looking for a baseball bat for my child? Why is all this other stuff about from tickets to a baseball game to like what sale is going on at the nearby sporting goods store? Like we're bombarded. We already have some kind of distrust in the system. Thus, why certain people or certain organizations really want some level of regulation. And it comes with that's the biggest issue with crypto right now. Crypto is here and it's going to be there. The only reason why it's not in the hands of many people of understanding is because they're still trying to figure it out on a government level. They know at some point it has to be some level of regulation, and it's so many facets going on around that. But it's here and it's here to stay. But a lot of people fear it, just like any type of privacy with their data. Your data is out there, your personal data is out there. And then the minute any program says, okay, we can save your card, it's just convenient versus why. But one of the biggest bank institutions, at least once or twice a year, gets hacked. So I think no matter what, being vigilant about keeping people's data private, knowing that whatever we do, we are going to have a level of scrutiny as consumers, as patients, clients, or what have you, because it can build definite mistrust in the system. And we can't afford that in healthcare, but we can't afford that in many areas, but definitely not healthcare. So it becomes an issue. It definitely does.
Yeah, I agree. What advice do you have for aspiring healthcare professionals?
Let's see, what is the one thing? I should know this right off the back, but it's just many.
There's so much. There's so much.
So many things. I think now my conversation has changed a lot when I teach students or young residents or people who reach out to me on LinkedIn. It has to do with understand that whatever you do now is a transferable skill set. So the reason why I mention that, get in, learn as much as you can, ask questions, think outside the box, go along with different communities or what have you. Do not isolate one way of doing things, because you're going to go somewhere and it looks so much different. And with that, whatever you learn, because it's going to be a day where you may not want to do exactly that. And I don't want you to ever feel that you're locked in, because you can evolve in what you've created because you have learned so much. For example, the way they train us in medical school with the large amount of information and the things that we've had to learn, and then going into residency, etc. It took a minute for me to understand that I have my own individual superpowers, but that gave me confidence that I can learn something else. But sometimes you're in the thick of things and you feel like, oh, I can't do anything else. I'm stuck here or what have you. There are people running billion-dollar companies that don't have a degree. You know what I'm saying? They've used a hustling skill set. They've used, this is what my mama had to do skill set. So this is an area where you can have an advantageous point of view if you think outside of, okay, this is what you are doing now, but you can be placed somewhere else because you can learn it. If you want to do it, you can learn it. And now you have access and resources. So that's the thing. Understand that anything that you want to push and do, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it is an extension of a different career or a new business you want to launch outside of medicine, but you still want to be in medicine, you have some foundational things. And right now you can get a course and learn and grow and get around people, a different tribe. And that's what I'm learning along the journey, because I was someone that just thought I needed to be stuck in a certain identity because I'm OB-GYN, I have to do this. And then ultimately I realized, okay, I don't want to retire saying that. If I'm really interested in other things, how do I create opportunities to do that? Because sometimes I feel more comfortable in those tribes than I do sitting in the break room at a hospital, depending, because I'm having different conversation that I want to have. So yeah, everything could be a transferable skill set, because you definitely have areas that study hard or what have you, whatever it's been, you can use that somewhere else because your brain is trained to do it. You just have to do it.
Yeah. I want to thank you for being here. How can our listeners contact you? What's your website and your Instagram, I think? So go ahead and share.
Yes, the two main channels I use are Instagram and LinkedIn. So you can follow me on Instagram on Dr.LaRessa, that's DrLaReessa, and LinkedIn, first name with my last name, Ferdinand, Ferdinand. I always say Ferdinand the Bull. Everybody, at some point, somebody read Ferdinand the Bull. It's a good story.
It is a good story.
So you can follow me there. And then if you're in the Orlando area and you're very much interested, or in Florida, period, and you want to see a different way of how to take care and manage your health, I see all women, but you can find me on thrivebeyondwellness.com, thrivebeyondwellness.com.
All right. That sounds wonderful. Again, thank you for being here and spending time with me and our listeners. I'm going to see other ways how I can bring you in here, because I think that you're so interesting. The perspective and the topic will be really helpful for our women listeners. So thank you. And you know what? I'm not even going to exclude the men. The men need to hear this stuff too, right? They need to.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Isabella. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you to our sponsor, Cat 5 Studios, and thank you to our video production and editing team. Music is by Sophie Lloyd. The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Employers for Change, helping hiring teams to recruit and upskill their intern talent and employees. Learn more at www.e4c.tech and become a member to reduce hiring bias and improve your company culture through head and heart smart recruitment and learning. Subscribe to The Whisper today and show your support by sharing our show, tagging a friend to listen, and leaving us comments. You can find the Intern Whisper podcast on Employers for Change YouTube channel or streaming from your favorite podcast channel.